There's a law on the books in Washington that authorizes the president to invade the Netherlands, not a hypothetical, not a threat, an actual law. It's called the Hague Invasion Act, and it exists for one reason, to ensure that no American ever faces justice for war crimes. December 2025, Washington, D.C. The Trump administration delivers a message to the International Criminal Court. Change your founding charter. Guarantee that you will never, not now, not in 2029, not ever, investigate the president, the vice president, or the Secretary of Defense. If you refuse, we will sanction your judges, freeze your bank accounts, crash your operations, and if that doesn't work, well, there's always the Hague Invasion Act. The ICC is the world's permanent war crimes tribunal. 125 member nations created to prosecute genocide, crimes against humanity, mass atrocities. The court that brought warlords to justice, that issued arrest warrants for Vladimir Putin. And America wants it neutered permanently. The math of impunity. The United States is not a member of the ICC. Neither is Russia. Neither is China. Neither is Israel. But here's what makes America different. It doesn't just refuse to join. It actively works to destroy the court, to punish any nation that cooperates with it, to shield not only its own citizens, but the citizens of its allies. In February 2025, Trump signs an executive order imposing sanctions on 9 ICC officials, judges, prosecutors, staff. Their crime? Issuing arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the Gaza war. By December, 11 ICC officials are sanctioned. The administration threatens to designate the entire court, a move that would cripple its ability to pay staff, access banks, or function at all. The message is clear. International law applies to everyone except us. August 2nd, 2002. The original sin. President George W. Bush signs the American Service Members Protection Act into law. The bill, nicknamed the Hague Invasion Act, contains a remarkable provision. The president is authorized to use all means necessary and appropriate to release any American or allied citizen detained by the ICC. All means, including military force, including invading the Netherlands, a NATO ally where the court sits. The bill passes the Senate 75 to 19. 30 Democrats vote yes. This isn't partisan politics. This is bipartisan consensus. America plays by different rules. The law also cuts military aid to any country that joins the ICC, unless they sign agreements exempting Americans from prosecution. It prohibits any US cooperation with the court. It treats international justice as an existential threat. The Dutch ambassador protests. The European Parliament condemns. Human Rights Watch calls it intimidation. Nothing changes. The law remains on the books today. The pattern repeats. 2020, Trump sanctions ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda for investigating potential US war crimes in Afghanistan. Her bank accounts are frozen. Her visa is revoked. 2021, Biden lifts the sanctions but doesn't repeal the underlying law. The Hague Invasion Act stays. The message stays. 2024, the IC issues arrest warrants for Netanyahu and former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The Biden administration calls it outrageous. The Trump transition team promises retaliation. 2025. Trump doesn't just restore sanctions, he escalates. Judges who ruled against Israel are targeted. The administration demands the ACC rewrite its founding statute, the Rome Statute, to guarantee American immunity. 23 years, 4 presidents, 2 parties, the same policy, America above the law. Why does this matter? Because the ICC isn't just a court. It's a principle that some crimes are so terrible, no government can shield their perpetrators. That mass murder transcends borders. That I was following orders is not a defense. The court was built on the ashes of Nuremberg, on the graves of Rwanda, on the understanding that never again requires institutions, not just words. And America, the nation that helped design the Nuremberg trials, that championed human rights for decades, now leads the campaign to gut it. Not because America fears false accusations. The ICC only acts when national courts fail. The US military justice system is robust. No American soldier has ever been indicted by the ICC. America fears accountability itself. The very possibility that someone, somewhere, might judge its actions. November 2024, United Nations General Assembly. The vote is called Necessity of Ending the Economic, Commercial and Financial Embargo imposed by the United States of America against Cuba. The result, 187 in favor, 2 against. The 2 countries opposing the entire world, the United States and Israel. This isn't an anomaly. This is the 32nd consecutive year the world has voted to condemn the Cuba embargo. 32 years. And every single time, America stands alone or nearly alone against the planet. Welcome to the mathematics of American exceptionalism, the voting record. Pull the data from any year. The pattern is the same. In 2023, the global average voting coincidence with the United States in the UN General Assembly was 46%. Meaning, on issues that came to a vote, the world disagreed with America more than half the time. The country most aligned with the US, Israel, at 94%. The least aligned, Syria, Nicaragua, Iran, North Korea, Belarus, Cuba. But here's the uncomfortable truth. On certain issues, even America's closest allies vote against it. Palestine. When the General Assembly votes on Palestinian rights, self-determination or statehood, the tally is typically 140 plus in favor, with the US and Israel plus a handful of Pacific Island nations opposed. Nuclear disarmament. When the Assembly calls for a nuclear-free world, America votes no, humanitarian aid. When resolutions call for protecting aid workers, America has voted no, alongside countries it would never want to be compared to. On 6 votes in 2023, the United States stood in near isolation, joined only by Israel, the Israel exception. In 2024, the UN General Assembly adopted 18 resolutions specifically about Israel. How many resolutions did it adopt about the rest of the world combined? 7. 1 each for North Korea, Iran, Syria, Myanmar, Russia twice, and the United States for the Cuba embargo. This disproportion is real. The focus on Israel is undeniable. But here's what the US response reveals. Instead of engaging with the substance, debating whether specific Israeli actions violate international law, America simply rejects the premise. Any criticism of Israel is one-sided. Any accountability is politicized. The result? When the ICC finally issues arrest warrants for Israeli leaders over alleged war crimes in Gaza, America doesn't argue the facts. It attacks the court itself. The logic is circular. Israel cannot commit war crimes because investigating Israel is anti-Israel. The cost of exceptionalism. Every time America vetoes a Gaza ceasefire resolution, the world notices. Every time America sanctions ICC judges for doing their jobs, allies cringe. Every time America stands with 1 or 2 votes against 185, the narrative writes itself. The rules-based international order has an asterisk. And the asterisk says, except for America and its friends. This isn't just about reputation, it's about the architecture of global governance. The United Nations was built, in large part, by American diplomats. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was championed by Eleanor Roosevelt. The Nuremberg principles that leaders can be held accountable for atrocities were prosecuted by American lawyers. Now, America is the obstacle, the exception, the country that demands others follow rules it refuses to follow itself. China and Russia point to American hypocrisy every time they're criticized, and they're not wrong. What's at stake? The Trump administration's demands are unprecedented. Rewrite the Rome Statute to guarantee immunity for American officials, not just current officials, future ones, forever. This isn't about protecting soldiers from frivolous charges. It's about preemptive impunity, about ensuring that whatever America does in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Latin America, anywhere, can never be judged. The administration official who leaked the demands said the quiet part loud. There's growing concern that in 2029, the ICC will turn its attention to the president, to the vice president, to the secretary of war. They're not worried about false accusations. They're worried about real ones. Reports have emerged of US military strikes on drug boats near Latin America. Strikes that may have killed fishermen. Strikes where the Pentagon admits it doesn't know who was on board. Strikes on survivors of earlier attacks. If those actions constitute war crimes, the ICC could theoretically investigate. And that possibility, however remote, is intolerable to an administration that believes American power should be uncheckable. The question. There's a historian named William Blum who wrote a book called Rogue State. His thesis. Since World War II, the United States has intervened militarily in more countries than any other nation, has overthrown more governments, has violated international law more consistently. You don't have to accept every claim to see the pattern. From Guatemala to Vietnam to Iraq to Libya, American power has operated beyond the reach of international accountability. The ICC was supposed to change that, to create a floor beneath which no nation could sink. A court of last resort when national systems fail. America's response? Threaten to invade the court, sanction its judges, demand permanent immunity. Epilogue. The ICC continues to function. The arrest warrants for Netanyahu remain in force. 125 countries are still obligated to arrest him if he sets foot on their soil. But the message has been received. International justice has limits. Power has privileges. And the country that once built the architecture of human rights now leads the campaign to tear it down. The American Service Members Protection Act authorizes the president to use all means necessary, all means, to protect Americans from the consequences of their actions. That's not a legal doctrine. That's an empire speaking. And nas na humna kunna